This thought leadership series is founded on one sociological premise, the theory of change. Let me read this to you as how AFLIGA summarizes this. It says it's founded on the belief that the underrepresentation of African women in leadership is not only a result of modern socio-political barriers, but also of the displacement of indigenous leadership systems and liberatory practices that once fostered gender inclusivity. Wow. So we had this, but how did we lose this? And it's not just socio-political barriers that we have placed in women's spaces and prevent. Thank you, Prof, for citing the examples of our vice president and other women coming up. We need to push more women up. We need to do that. And I'm very happy to introduce to us one of our very special guests who will be giving us the purpose of the thought leadership lecture and also a welcome address. Let me read a very brief section. You'll find his full profile in the brochure that we have shared with you, but just a brief one on him. He is a self-motivated research professor, strategic project manager, and senior consultant who has built the capacities of public service institutions and public universities, establishing the foundations of one new public university in Ghana, as well as set up distinctive programs in other universities where he worked previously. Of course, this is a very seasoned educationist in our country, and I have the privilege to welcome former Vice Chancellor of GIMPA and other places, Professor Philip Duku Osei. Please, a big round of applause for Prof. As he comes. Prof.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, development partners, friends across the African continent and beyond, ladies and gentlemen. I actually like where the MC left off. In 50 years' time, we certainly will be meeting here and we'll be asking ourselves what we need to do to bring up the male child. Because it's happening already. I worked with the University of the West Indies in Jamaica and in the Caribbean as a whole. And there we have theories of male marginalization. And it's a story about how the male child and the men in particular were not able to transform together with the women as the sugar industry collapsed. And there were new avenues created for everyone, male and female, to succeed in the Caribbean. So you'll find out that at the University of the West Indies, what we had was at every graduation, you had about 70% being women and 30% being men. And you ask yourself, what is happening? And this is a serious social challenge which has bedeviled the entire Caribbean, because the women were at home, they were the managers of the estate. They did a whole lot and they educated themselves. The men were the field workers. They cut the cane, they made the rum and made someone very rich. At this time, it is important to acknowledge that the women are also coming up. At the universities now, you will find out that those who get first class are mostly women. If you like, you check on the website of the GTEC, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. They get all the statistics, and you find out that we are living in a bubble now. So the men, the challenge is up to you to continue in the leadership, but the women, they have already caught up. I am assuring you that you have a challenge on your hands, and you must treat the female with respect because they also have achieved. It is important to acknowledge this. It is with great honor and deep pride that I welcome you all, physically present and virtually connected, to this momentous occasion. AFLIGA Thought Leadership Series with the theme Indigenous Leadership, Implications for Rethinking Women's Leadership. This thought series has been thought through, and we have planned, and we are happy that today has offered us an opportunity. As we have in the good book, this is the day that the Lord has made. Yes, he has made it for us today, for us to also enjoy and present our program accordingly. The AFLIGA Thought Leadership Series will be held 2 times in the year, and it is a lecture series that is multidisciplinary. We will have sociologists, the political scientists, the economists, the gender specialists, the technologists, thought leaders will merge all this, and we will all have lecture series that basically highlights the indigenous capabilities that we have hidden for a long while. So, this series, today's has come at a time, we've passed half year, but we are looking forward to an opportunity to do a second one. We definitely will do the second one by October. And from then on, maybe February and September each year, we will institute this lecture series as a way of highlighting the developmental and technological needs and our ability to think through problems and solve them through organizing properly. I'm a student of public policy, and what I like best is examining implementation, which is the problem that we have had all this while, implementation. We have had so many ideas, lovely policies, and others pick them and use them and develop their countries. In Ghana, we are still where we are. But it is important that some of us also went abroad and learned, and we have brought back things so that we can all pull it together. So when we're talking about Africa, we are thinking about Africa in terms of not only the continent, but also the diaspora. So it is important to have that broad, open mind so that we can learn lessons not only from Ghana and Togo and Burkina Faso and Kenya, but we also learn from the Caribbean and Brazil and wherever, America, where we have had leaders, both men and women, and in particular, female leadership. And they have been very wonderful in terms of what they have achieved. And we won't be the last to learn from them. But we must also note what is important about this lecture is that it is not just a lecture series, it's the beginning of a movement. Because it is important that we put all our resources and support behind this. If it is a movement, then it's a movement that will reclaim, that will reposition African women at the center of global leadership discourse. And we will not only be talking, we will do as we talk. Throughout history, African women have led, and Chairman has highlighted a few. They have led with courage, wisdom, and innovation. From Queen Nzinga, Yaa Asantewaa, Nanny of the Maroons, to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Ngozi Okonjo, Joyce Hilda Banda, Amina Mohammed, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and Shirley Ayoko Botwe, Maya Motley, Portia Simpson Miller. I am lucky to have met these women who have achieved significantly, apart from Queen Nzinga and Nani, who lived well before I arrived with the Caribbean. Today's lecture is the first in the series. It's a step in the right direction towards closing the gap that we have been highlighting. It challenges the dominant narratives, celebrates African women's contributions, and sets the stage for building a connected leadership community. It also marks the beginning of something bigger, the launch of the African Female Leadership Development Program, which AFLIGA fellows and supporters have worked to pull together to help support and equip African women in their leadership quest. Madam Chairman, we are not going to see the women fighting back. We are going to push them to sit appropriately where they belong, because they are already leaders. Yes. We want them to lead in this particular era, equip the next generation of African women to lead in diplomacy, business, technology, development, and governance. So I won't want to bore you too much with too long an introductory remark. But on behalf of AFLIGA, the African Female Leadership Development Program, and AFLIGA as a whole, the Thought Leadership Series, which we are now inaugurating, I thank all of you who have made it possible for this event to happen. Our development partners, academic and civic institutions, women's networks, and every individual who believes in the power of African women to shape the future of this continent and the world. So let this lecture spark ideas, foster dialogue, and inspire concrete actions. African women are not only ready to lead, they are already leading. It is time the world recognize that and give them the opportunity to establish themselves fairly. It is time the world recognize that our women have arrived. They are not on their way, they have arrived. And they are here to make an impact, even as they have made impact already. And I can say from a little study that I did on the GLSS, which is a Ghana Living Standard Survey, yes, initially when I arrived back from the Caribbean in 2014, I thought that, you go to church and you go to places, and I like what the apostle said. We have de-emphasized the leadership of women, but by so doing, we have actually hurt ourselves and significantly drawn back what we could have achieved together if they were held on par as partners with equality. So it is important that the Ghanaian families, what I found was about 33% female-led households. The Jamaican one was about 25%. So it is important to recognize that the woman has led and is still leading, and it is important that we give them all the necessary support and get them to achieve more and put us where we belong. Because when women lead, things happen. Yeah, conflicts are resolved. So, on behalf of all of us, and I thank all of you for making it here, I would like to say Akaba. The Kenyans will say Karibu. The French will say Bienvenue. And the English will say welcome. So welcome to you all to this program, and we look forward to having a great time. Thank you.